Om apavitra pavitro va sarva avastangato piva yat smaret pundarik aksham sabhaya abhyantara shuchihi. Everybody, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Sigurum Dinataranam. Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. Trinadapi Sunichena Taror Eva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatir Anyata. Om Tat Sat. With your permission, I can speak.
Please.
I have to check. First, I would like to offer my respects to all devotees, because Krishna is in your heart. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So yesterday and today, various temples around the world observed the Gita Jayanti. Technically, it was on yesterday, Mokshada Ekadashi. But some temples, they do today, some did yesterday. So it's only befitting that I glorify Bhagavad Gita. And there is one prayer Prabhupada paraphrases at the end of his introduction to Bhagavad Gita. I recommend to devotees to read Prabhupada's introduction to Bhagavad Gita, because that introduction summarizes nicely Gita Sar, the essence of Gita. And he closes out that introduction by paraphrasing many of the verses of this Gita Mahatmyam by Sri Shankara-acarya. The way we learn in Prabhupada's books, although Shankara-acarya is the leader of the Mayavad philosophy, and we do not follow that Mayavad philosophy, those who are followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they do not follow that. But still, in the Puranas it is stated, Shankara-acarya is the incarnation of Mahadev. And Shankara-acarya was ordered by Lord Narayan to preach this Mayavad philosophy. But that philosophy is not for devotees. Devotees should follow the philosophy, specific philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Achintya Veda Abheda Tattva, that everything is simultaneously one and different from the absolute truth, Krishna. So although Shankara-acarya is the leader of the Mayavad Sampradaya, at heart he is a devotee. Not is he a devotee, he is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, the topmost devotee. So you will see throughout the Vedas many statements by Lord Shiva where he glorifies Krishna, glorifies devotees. So he has written this very nice Gita Mahatmyam. And every year I like to speak on this Gita Mahatmyam because it surcharges my preaching and enlivens me to again study Bhagavad Gita. These Vedic literatures are not like newspapers or magazines or ordinary books where you read once and then throw. These Shastras, they are to be read over and over and over again. And we'll hear Shankara-acharya's instructions about Bhagavad Gita. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So there are 7 shlokas in this Gita Mahatmyam, glorification of Bhagavad Gita. Gita Shastram idang punyam yat pathet prayatak puman Vishnu padam avapnoti bhaya shokadi varjitaha. Translation. Good to see you. One who with a regulated mind recites with devotion Bhagavad Gita, which is the bestower of all virtue, will attain to a holy abode such as Vaikuntha, the residence of Lord Vishnu, which is always free from the mundane qualities based on fear and lamentation. So right away, Shankara-acharya is instructing us, giving us impetus why we should read Bhagavad Gita with a regulated, controlled mind and with devotion, because it bestows all good qualities, all virtues. And if you read Bhagavad Gita, you will attain Vaikuntha. He makes a distinction in this verse between Vaikuntha and Kunta Loka. Where we live, whether it be Los Angeles, Placentia, India, it's Kunta Loka, the place of anxiety. You don't need me to convince. All you have to do is turn on the news. After 5 minutes, you're convinced. This world is a world of anxiety. And that's confirmed by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. In the 8th chapter, he says, you can go up to the topmost planet, Brahma. You can go down to the lowest planet, Patala. They have one thing in common. Dukalayam ashasvatam. These residences are temporary and dukkha alayam, full of miseries. Yes. But the residence of Narayan, Vishnu, Krishna, Vaikuntha, no anxiety and no fear and lamentation. Krishna explains in his almost final instruction in Gita that if you surrender to him Aham tvang sarva papebhyo mokshayeshami ma shuchaha. If you surrender to me, I will deliver you from all your sinful reactions. And he ends the verse, ma shucha. And Prabhupada explains in the purport, ma shucha means three things. Don't hesitate. Don't fear. And my favorite, don't worry. Be happy. Yes. By surrendering to Krishna, because you're free from all sinful reactions, what's there to be in anxiety? Same thing is expressed in my favorite bhajan. Bhaja hure manna Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Fearless at the lotus feet of Krishna. Prabhupada's name. Abhaya Charanara Vinda. Hare Krishna. He was given the name Abhay, and then at the time of initiation, Charanara Vinda. Fearless at the lotus feet of Krishna. Someone may say, how do I get shelter of Krishna? Because that's also in that verse. Sarvadaman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam. Two different meanings. One is surrender, the other is take shelter. The Pushti Marg. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. I take shelter of Sri Krishna. It's the Maha Mantra, same thing. So, when you want to surrender to Krishna, it's very simple. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Bolo Hari, just chant Krishna's name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Immediately you have taken shelter of Krishna. In this age of Kali, this is the easiest method to take shelter of Krishna. If you have read the Dashamaskanda of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, when the first section, 34 chapters, is all about Vrindavan Leela. And you'll see there are so many episodes. Demons come. The Brajabasis are in anxiety, either for themselves or for Krishna. But whenever the danger came, what did they do? They took shelter of Krishna. Just like when Indra sent the rain and the thunder and the lightning and the hail, because Krishna stopped the Indra Yagya. The cows immediately took shelter of, even the cows. And the residents, they all took shelter of Krishna, and Krishna gave them an umbrella, Govardhan Parvat. He said, come underneath my umbrella. For 7 days, a 7-year-old Krishna held up Govardhan Hill. No struggles, easy. Prabhupada says, like a child picks up a mushroom. How difficult that is. So Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. Let's go to text number 2. Gita dhyayana shilasya pranayama parasya cha naiva santi papani purva janma kritani cha. If one reads Bhagavad Gita very sincerely and with all seriousness, then, by the grace of the Lord, the reactions of one's past misdeeds will not act upon one. So here is another thing to remark about how to read Gita. Sincerely and seriously. And if you do that, all the reactions of one's past misdeeds are nullified. This is encouraging for the devotees, because that's the function of a devotee. As I said, Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee. So one of his business is to enliven other devotees. As in the case of the Prachetas, we read in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how Lord Shiva appeared in front of the Prachetas and recited his Shiva Gita, which is nothing but glorification of Krishna. Text number 3. Maline mochanang pungsang jalasnanang dine dine sakrit gitamrita snanam samsaramala nashanam. So, here Shankara-acarya is saying, every day you get up, you take a bath. That is sattvic life, that is healthy life. First thing in the morning, take a bath or a shower, like that. So Shankara-acarya is saying, you cleanse yourself with water, but you can purify your heart by reciting Bhagavad Gita. And he compares the words of Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, to like the sacred Ganges flowing. And therefore, what gets washed off? Cheto Darpana Marjana. All the dust and dirt accumulated in the core of the heart. That is what is cleansed. Lord Chaitanya's first instruction. Lord Chaitanya has given Shiksha Ashtaka, 8 verses of instruction. The very first statement, Cheto Darpana Marjana. The first business of a spiritual practitioner, cleanse the mind. Cheta, the word cheta can mean mind, it can mean the heart, it can mean consciousness. Basically the subtle body that is taught in the Vedas. There is a gross body which we see, but then there's a subtle body which I cannot see. I cannot see what you are thinking. I can surmise by your eyes and by your expressions what actually is happening inside, because it's subtle. Subtle body, but still a material covering. So Lord Chaitanya says, first order of business, cleanse. So that cleansing process is hearing and chanting God's name, God's instruction, God's qualities, His Leela, pastimes. Indeed, in the first canto, Sutta Goswami is instructing the rishis of Naimisharanya, and he comes to this one nice verse which applies to you right now. Shrinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Hridiyantak Stohi Abhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam. So, the science of bhakti is such that if you agree to listen to Krishna Katha, the message of Krishna, then Krishna reciprocates. Krishna is there in your heart. So when Krishna sees, oh, you're hearing about me? Oh, I am very grateful to you. I will remove from your heart Abhadrani. We have on our altar Subhadra. Bhadra means auspicious. Subhadra, very auspicious. But the opposite is Abhadra, Abhadrani, inauspiciousness, bad things, which is Kali Yuga. wave after wave of abhadra. So Krishna says, oh, Shinbatang Swakata Krishna, you're hearing my katha? I will wipe away. I will vidhunoti. I will cleanse that inauspiciousness from the heart. In all my years of preaching, last 50 years, I've given out thousands of blessings. But I tell people, you can get blessings every day, anytime. Read Bhagavad Gita, you will be blessed. Hear the holy name, chant the mala, you're getting blessed. Let's go to verse 4. Gita sugita kartavya kim anyay shastra vistaray ya swayam padmanabhasya mukha padma vinasrita. This verse shows what Shankara-acarya believes. Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, after all, it's called Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God, and so many times Vyasadeva puts in there, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, and Prabhupada makes the point, Vyasadeva did not write Sri Krishna Uvacha. There was a reason. Because if he had written Sri Krishna Uvacha, some people would say, who cares for Krishna? He's just somebody. But by saying Sri Bhagavan, Bhagavan is speaking. This is significant. If an important man says something, then if somebody very qualified, if somebody very prominent speaks, we take notice. If some ordinary fool says something, just discard it. But somebody of stature, our ears pick up. So Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, God is speaking. So since Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one need not read any other Vedic literature. Wow. This is Sankaracharya. I'm just a messenger. I'm just a messenger. He says, and this is his logic, because he's not just saying that. In the 6th canto of Bhagavatam, when the Yamadutas failed to capture Ajamula, this was the first time the Yamadutas had failed in their mission. So they went back to their boss. Hey, we thought you were supreme. We thought you were the big personality. So Yamaraj was very pleased when the Yamadutas told him that they had met the Vishnu Dutas and they heard the name Narayan. So Yamaraj was very happy. And Yamaraj said, yes, in general, people consider me supreme, but actually, above me is Krishna. And then Yamaraj gives the definition of religion. He gives the definition. Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. What God says, that's religion. Not what I say, not what Elon Musk says or whatever. What is religion? What does God himself say? That's what Yamaraj, and I don't know about you, but I'm not going to argue with Yamaraj. If Yamaraj says something, I'm going to take it seriously. When I go before Yamaraj to be judged, I'm not going to argue with him. Besides, you won't win. So that is important. Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat. So that's why Shankara-acarya, Lord Shiva, is saying, because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Bhagavan, why do you need to read anything else? Now there's an answer to that, but that's another class. But suffice it to say for today, since we are doing Gita Mahatmyam, we can rest assured. Now, in a couple of verses, he's going to explain why it is that Gita is sufficient. But for now, so he says, therefore, one need only attentively and regularly hear and read Bhagavad Gita. So regular, every day. And attentively, yes. Just like if I'm sitting with my wife, right? And we're eating, the TV goes off. We want quality time, right? And nowadays in the family, what happens? Everyone comes to the dinner table with the cell phone. And instead of having conversations, you're not being attentive to the family members. I go through this with my family. Yes, it's Kali Yuga. So when we read Bhagavad Gita, we have to pay attention. I've said many, many times, when you're doing your sadhana, you're giving quality time to Krishna. Quality time. It's right here in Prabhupada's translation. Why one attentively, you just have to read Gita? Because in the present age, people are so absorbed in their material activities. Can't help it. There's so much pressures now. So it is not possible to read all the Vedic literatures. 4 Vedas, 108 Upanishads, 18 Puranas, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Vedantas. That's a lot of reading. So it's not necessary, Shankara-acarya says. One book, Bhagavad Gita, will suffice because it is the essence of all Vedic literatures. And again he repeats, especially because it's spoken by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So this point is going to be repeated at the end. It is the essence of all the Vedas. Just, if you, earlier today I was at another temple giving a Bhagavad Gita lecture. And I pointed out to them that Bhagavad Gita is known as Gita Upanishad or Gita Upanishad. So, just one book, the essence is all that's required. Text 5. Bharatar Atmatam Sarvasvam Vishnu Bhaktrad Vinisritam Gita Gangodakam Pitva Punarjanma Na Vidyate. You know this. By drinking the Ganges waters of the Gita, so he's saying, that's the second time now he said, Gita is just like Ganga. It is the divine quintessence of the Mahabharata. Yes. Vyasadeva admits in the first canto of Bhagavatam, because Vyasadeva compiled Mahabharata, so the author should know what he's writing about. So he says, actually, the whole purpose of me writing Mahabharata was to get people to Bhagavad Gita. There's all these stories and all this history, but then in the beginning of part 2, what happens? Bhagavad Gita. That is his real purpose. That is his real intention. The Mahabharata was written for those who are not so elevated not so educated, not so, shall we say, so fortunate. But no one is left out. Mahabharata fills that need. So, it is the quintessence of Mahabharata emanating from the holy lotus mouth of Lord Krishna. Yes, different parts of Krishna's body is compared to the lotus. Lotus feet, lotus hands, lotus face, lotus eyes, and now lotus mouth. Ooh, what does he say now? You drink. Now, how do you drink Gita? Through the ear, through the Karnarandra, through the ear. That's how you drink. Because now you have spiritual senses. When we take prasadam, we'll take kheer, but through the mouth. But now that we're on the spiritual platform, senses are interchangeable. You can drink through the ears. When you look at the deities, you're drinking through your eyes. You're drinking in the beauty, drinking in the transcendence. So by drinking the Ganges water of Gita, one will never take rebirth again in the material world. What more reason do you need to study Bhagavad Gita? There's another Shastra that I've read, and it's another Gita Mahatmyam, very long. And at the end, it gives all these benefits you get from reading a chapter. You get so many benefits. By reading one shloka, you get, and even if you read one word, you get benefit. Wow. What an investment of time, spiritual sound vibration. In other words, by devotionally reciting Gita, the cycle of birth and death is terminated. So that's why it said samsara, the repeated cycle. It's like maybe most of you in your homes, you have washer dryer. Then there's the spin cycle. So we're all going through spin cycles, one after the other, throughout 8,400,000. Time now to end the spin cycle. Time now to surrender to Krishna and become beyond liberated. Beyond moksha, love of God. Here comes my favorite verse of the 7. I love this one. Sarvo panishado gavo dugda gopala nandana paratovatsa sudhir bhokta dugdangitamritam mahat. This one I don't have to look. I know this one. I even spoke about it this morning. This morning I was in Chatsworth. So this one, all the Upanishads, there are 108 Upanishads. All the Upanishads are a cow. All right? Now, and I asked the people this morning, who's the best milkman? And then I pointed to the altar. Krishna. After all, his name is Gopal. His name is Govinda. He's the original cowherd boy, the best. Now, when you have a cow and a milkman, the idea is get milk. Maybe you've had that experience of milking a cow. I got that experience in Australia back in, was it 2015? I was in Australia preaching, and there's one very nice ISKCON farm, and my godbrother was taking care of the cows. He showed me how you do it. Fascinating. And then he showed me, this is what you do with cows. You go like this. I said, really? And I would go there chanting japa, and the cows would come, and then I would do this. They loved it. So nice. So, the idea of keeping a cow, because it's money, it's time, keeping a cow is not like, gassing your car. There's a lot of work involved. So the whole purpose of keeping a cow is to get the milk. So those who know the science, the cow will give lots of milk in presence of her calf. So who's the calf? Arjuna. And the milk? Bhagavad Gita. All the 108 Upanishads comes out in the form of the milk, the Amrita, or here, Dugdam, right? Dugdam is milk? No? Yes? Yeah. Yeah. Comes out in the form of Bhagavad Gita. And not only Arjuna, because, one thing I forgot. Arjuna's the calf. Who gets the milk? We do. The devotees get the milk of Bhagavad Gita, which is why Prabhupada insisted, distribute books, because we don't hoard it. We want to give it out. Just like sometimes you make too much prasad. What do you do at the end? Okay, take some home. You don't want to waste. I've had that many times. So with this milk of Bhagavad Gita, devotees want to give it out. That's why we have the class, is to give out nectar. And I enjoy giving out the nectar. I hope I can continue. Final verse. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam Eko Deva Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantras Tasya Namani Yani Karmapi Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva. So Shankara-acarya now concludes his Gita Mahatmyam. Therefore, you only need one scripture, Divine Gita, sung by Lord Krishna, because there are many Gitas. Many Gitas. Shankara-acarya is saying, stick with Bhagavad Gita. And look at this. He says there's only one worshipful Lord, Krishna. That's Shankara-acarya saying. Yes. And only one mantra, Nam, the holy name. I was saying this morning, the followers of Lord Chaitanya, they're very liberal, because Lord Chaitanya's teaching is, you don't want to chant Krishna's name, Govinda? All right. Whatever name of God you have in your religion, if it signifies God, chant that name. That's how liberal. Now, I then told them, but you have to understand, I am Krishna's salesman. So if you're going to ask me, I'm going to recommend Krishna. And then I gave him my favorite example. Many car places, all the different various car outlets are in the same mall. Right? Have you seen that? In Cerritos, I think, was one of the first. But there are many now. They're all there. So if I go to Hyundai, you should take Hyundai. Okay, then I go to Honda. No, don't go take Honda. Take my car. If I go to Toyota, who I favor, Toyota is for you. And if I go to Mr. Musk, give me your, what is his car? The Tesla. He's going to say that, right? And everybody. So I was explaining, every religion says they're the only way. Every religion, whether it be Muslim, whether it be Christian, whether it be Buddhist, Even the atheists say we're the only way. So I said, we all agree, if everybody can say that, then we have to go to another level. And I can definitely say, Krishna says, surrender to me. So you have to make a intelligent inquiry. So I told the people, this is my first time there at that temple today. So I told them, I was not raised Hindu or Indian. I was raised Catholic, right? So, since I was raised like that, in the Christian religion, Shri Shri RadhaRaman Bhagavan ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai, Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Gaur Premanande. So, the Bible is one book. But Bhagavatam is 12 books the size of a Bible. So I'm saying, if every religion says our way is the only way, then you have to discern who has the topmost philosophy, who has the most information. Our Hindu scriptures, we have encyclopedias on God. Not just one book. We have encyclopedias. Bhagavatam is 18,000 shlokas. Gita is 700 shlokas. Mahabharata's even more. What to speak of Ramayana? With so much information. That's one reason why I have continued for the last 50 years. There's more information than you can absorb in a lifetime. But today I have to go by Shankara-acarya. He says, just stick with Gita, Prabhu. Just stick with Gita. Yes. And only one duty, devotional service unto that supreme worshipful Lord, Sri Krishna. I mentioned that also. That what is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita? Because, and those who've read, different yogas are explained in Gita. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, right? But if you study Gita impartially, the conclusion is bhakti. And on this point, there is no wiggle. Now, of course, Krishna gives you options. So yes, for those who are attached to material activities, karma yoga is there. For those who are attached to mental speculation, yes. So, but if you want to see God, if you want to understand God, if you want to return to God, it can only be bhakti. That is clear. There are 3 major verses. In the middle of chapter 8, Krishna says, one can understand me as I am only by bhakti. At the end of chapter 11, after the whole universal Vishvarupa, after Arjuna requests the universal form, who are you? What is your mission? I am time. Then Arjuna says to Krishna, all right, take this away. Too much. Because Krishna had to give Arjuna the eyes to see. He said, oh, you want to see this magic show? All right, I have to give you the eyes to see. So after a while, Arjuna, no more. Take it away. I want to see your Chaturbhuj, and I want to see your original form. So Krishna, like a great magician, the universal form disappeared. Krishna showed Chaturbhuj, and then resumed his form on the chariot, 2 hands driving for Arjuna. So at that point, at the end of the 11th chapter, Krishna says, so, Arjuna, the form you're seeing right now before you, my two-handed form, Saumya Vapu, that's the dearest, most confidential, beautiful form. Yes, beautiful. You can only see me like this, bhakti. That is the, and then there's a whole series of verses leading up to the conclusion, Sarvadhamman Parityaja. There's a whole string of verses. And again, Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyastasmi tattvata. You want to know me, you want to see me, you want to come to me, bhakti, bhakti, bhakti. If you read Gita, there's no confusion on that. But the problem is, we're not serious. That is, or we're not convinced. So the preacher's job is to enthuse, enliven, and encourage. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. So that section leading up to Bhagavad Gita 1866, Krishna, just before speaking those final verses, he says, Arjuna, I have explained everything to you. It began in chapter 2, Sankhya, the difference between body and soul, spiritual, material, temporary, eternal. That's the beginning. Krishna did not start with Rasa Leela. No. First you have to begin with ABCs. You're not the body. And he goes through the different yogas. So that beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the difference between the body and soul, that is called confidential knowledge. You don't learn that in Harvard. That you learn in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 is considered confidential knowledge. As the Gita progresses, you learn more confidential knowledge. Super soul, Krishna in the heart. We are known as Atma or Jiva or Jivatma, but Krishna is Param Atma, the superior soul, the supreme soul, who also lives in the heart. These 5 verses in Gita, Krishna says, I live in the heart. And this section I'm referring to begins, it doesn't begin, but one of the verses is that I am seated, Ishvaro Sarvabhutanam, Rideshe Arjun Tishtati. Krishna said for the 5th time, I am seated in everyone's heart. In chapter 15, what does he say? Sarvasya chaham vriddhi sani vishta matak smatir jnanam apohanam. I'm in your heart, sitting right next, I'm your landlord, next to you, because we are also in the heart. But I'm doing something. I'm causing you to remember. I'm causing you to forget. And I'm giving you the understanding. And in chapter 13, most of the chapter is about Paramatma, Super Soul. Very instructive chapter, chapter 13. So what else is Super Soul doing? Anumanta hi upadrasta. He's witnessing everything and sanctioning. It's like I'm sure some of you are paying attention. There's this World Cup. USA lost. Why? Because Krishna said no. Simple. They did not do enough pious activities. They did not get the blessings of Krishna. Same way, I mentioned this morning also. The choice was there, Krishna or Krishna's army. Duryodhana took Krishna's army, Arjuna took Krishna. That was the deciding factor in the battle of Kurukshetra. Duryodhana thought, oh, Arjuna's such a fool, he chose Krishna. What an idiot. I have Krishna's army, which was in the millions. So he was doing a numbers game. And yes, the Kauravas did outnumber the Pandavas. If Las Vegas had did odds on the battle of Kurukshetra, Duryodhana and the Kauravas would have had the biggest point spread in history. But one thing that nobody could understand, the Krishna factor. And that changed everything. And Arjuna learned that in chapter 11. When he asked, what is this I'm seeing? Who are you? What is your mission? Time I am. And I've come to destroy everything. And then the universal form said, all these soldiers on both sides, they're done. Except for you 5 Pandavas. So Arjuna got a preview. And then, very important line. Nimitta matram bhava sabdya sachin. Arjuna, the battle is already decided. Whether you fight or not fight, I'm getting what I want. Okay? But I would like you to get the credit. That's how cool Krishna is. There are other examples in Bhagavatam where Krishna wants his devotees to shine. Prabhupada even said, there was no need actually. Krishna could have finished the Pandavas just like this, boom. I'm not the Pandavas, the Kauravas, boom. Krishna could have just snapped his finger, all done. No. Krishna wants the devotees to get the credit. So, now, in this final section of chapter 18 that I've been talking about, there is one line. So Arjuna, I've told you everything. Yate shasi tata kuru. Free will. You consider, then decide what you want to do. This for me is very important. It's not that Krishna has a gun to Arjuna's head. Surrender! No. When we read Bhagavad Gita, actually, Krishna says, one of the last things Krishna says, and one who reads Gita worships me by their intelligence. So when you read Bhagavad Gita, that is as good as Arti. Of course, Shankara-acarya mentioned with devotion, with attention, with controlled senses. But I love this, that he has given each and every one of us free will. Because without free will, then you cannot have the word love. Love, by definition, has to be free. If I force somebody, that's not love. Love means I volunteer, like there are different kinds of marriages I've seen. So there's one kind of marriage where it's explained. The wife gives herself to the husband and the husband gives himself over to the wife. That's, in my case, it's like that. We have that understanding. So Krishna has given us free will. And with that free will, we can choose to love Krishna or not. Now, unfortunately, if we do not want to love Krishna, then we have to live in Placentia or somewhere in Kuntaloka. But if you choose to love Krishna, as was mentioned in the beginning, Vaikuntha, the place where there's no anxiety. I don't know about you, but 50 years ago, it was probably at the end or middle of February, I made that decision. I was at the crossroads. I was 23 years old, and I said, am I going to give this life and pursue my music career or Krishna? I made the decision. Krishna and Prabhupada. Best decision I ever made. And I would do it 1,000,000 times over. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Everybody please. My dear Lord Krishna, please bless these devotees here who have stayed for the lecture. Please bless them, remove their anxiety, and may they see you and feel your presence more and more in their hearts. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.